We will continue on with our media availabilities for the 20th anniversary Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. We are now joined by the driver who sits second in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series point standings, and that's Chase Elliott, driver of the number 24 Mountain Dew Little Caesars Chevrolet. Chase, you're actually running a special paint scheme here this weekend with Little Caesars, and there's a cool promotion going along with that. If Chase wins, you win. Why don't you talk about that to start off here?
Yeah, so Mountain Dew's been a great partner for us, and they have a good relationship with Little Caesars as well. So if we are able to win here on Sunday or whenever it is, April 26th, Little Caesars is giving away a $5 or a free lunch combo to the folks that are at their store. So it's a big promotion for them, and hopefully we can do that and have a good partnership for Mountain Dew and Little Caesars. It's a cool opportunity, so we'll see.
Sounds good. We'll open it up to questions here for Chase. We'll start here with Chris.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Chase, I was curious how the Atlanta game went with the baseball game, and also how do you feel about the Charlotte race being run during the day instead of running under lights in the fall?
Yeah, the Braves game was a lot of fun. Well, the tour of the facility was fun. The game that night wasn't that fun, but yeah, they had a rough night. But it was a great opportunity to go and see their new park. I mean, super nice. I mean, I've never been to a facility any nicer than that. They've thought of everything. You know, all the folks are very gracious and kind to walk us through and give me a chance to kind of see some of the cool things that those guys have to work with throughout the week. So it's a great opportunity. I appreciate it. A lot of fun, but like I said, the game not so much. But hopefully they get her turned around. But you know, I'm a fan of night racing. If I could have my choice, I would love to race under the lights as much as possible. As I've ran more and more races in these Cup cars and in this series, I recognize that these cars like to race in the day. It lends more opportunity to us as drivers to move around on the racetrack, and I feel like put on a better show for the fans. So although I kind of come from a Saturday night short track world over the past 6 or 7 years, I think these cars are better suited racing during the day, and I think if that's the case, then we need to do it during the day. So I think it's a good move.
We'll go to Stan.
Chase, Stan Creekmore with Outside the Box. Compare, if you will, the intensity on a driver of driving at Bristol Motor Speedway versus Talladega Superspeedway.
Yeah, definitely nowhere close. I mean, Bristol's a physical place. You know, you don't have a lot of time down the straightaways to think about things. You very much so get into a rhythm of just running. I feel like you're just wide open all the time, whereas I feel like at Talladega you get in, you know, there's certain portions of the race where things might calm down for a little while. Now we all know at some point it's going to ramp back up, but I feel like here you don't really have much of a break, and it's just all the time wide open, and knowing how quickly the leader can get back to you to put you a lap down, I think is one thing that keeps everybody on their toes and probably keeps the intensity up. And as we know, you know, the race, a lot of times where it gets interesting is when the leader catches lap traffic and he's got to work his way through, and that guy in second might, you know, navigate the traffic better. So I think that, you know, just makes the racing that much more entertaining.
I'm going to go to the far right to Mark.
Mark Darrow, PRN. Chase, you just talked about, you know, coming from the short tracks and the Saturday night races, and those local short tracks a little more physical, you know, with the race cars, and you guys not afraid to bump and grind. Used to be that way here. We saw last year, you know, the bump and run win at Richmond by Carl Edwards, and everybody thought, oh my goodness, what's that all about? Like it was some kind of crime. How do you gauge the physical nature of the racing on the short tracks from your background in the local short tracks up to here? Are you surprised there's more or less? How do you see it?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on who you talk to. You know, there might be more aggression at times at a short track level. The area I came from and the racing we did, I can't say that it was, you know, there definitely didn't seem like there was a lot of, amongst the guys who you were trying to beat at least, and the guys who you knew could win each weekend, I didn't feel like those were the guys that were, you know, wrecking people to do things or whatever. So That's a good question. I mean, I think at times, if the situation's right, I think you do have opportunity to move a guy out of the way or do what it takes to try to get by him. But in a lot of situations, it's just easy to make a mistake and wreck people, and at the end of the day, you obviously don't want to make that mistake. So it's a fine line, and, I think Carl, he did a great job with it. Richmond, moved him out of the way and didn't wreck him. Guy finished second, he won, and went on down the road. So I think in that situation, no harm, no foul.
Would you be willing to make the same move that Carl made under the same circumstances?
I would, for sure. I mean, why not? I mean, for me, which Carl's won a lot of races, I've won 0. So I'd love to get one. So absolutely. If the situation's right, I think that's part of racing. And if you're better than a guy and you get to him, and, he had just caught Kyle, and he had been, 6 or 7 car lengths back and had just got to him on the white flag lap. I mean, he didn't have enough time to set him up and really pass him without touching him. And he wanted to win, so I can respect that.
Do we have any final questions for Chase? Go here to Dustin in front.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. At Martinsville, obviously you benefited at the end of stage 1 with what Ricky did. That type of situation, and with the known cautions, especially at short tracks here and elsewhere, how did that open the eyes, or did that open the eyes of what's possible or what you need to be aware of as a leader, or the possibility if you're trying to get your lap back? Because I know obviously if you get the free pass, you're starting half a lap back anyway on the restart.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was blown away that even happened. I wasn't expecting it. I've gone a lap down a lot at Martinsville, and I can't say that, man, I'd have to really think about it a lot to move the leader out of the way to try to get my lap back. So, I don't know what the situation was there, if there had been history, so it's hard for me to really get involved, but it surprised me, and I definitely wasn't expecting to see that happen. So I think it does open your eyes, but I don't think you'll see that happen very often.
I also want to ask you, is your dad drove for the Wood brothers, so you've kind of got a sense of their history, but obviously for most of your life, they've not been as strong. Now that they're having success, and I don't know how well you know everybody there other than Ryan, what is it, maybe you have a better appreciation of what it means to see them up front, or do you?
No, I do, for sure. As Dad said over the years, not really knowing him, and when he started to spend time with them, once he got to know Lynn and Eddie and Leonard and Glenn, we got to know him pretty well over those few years, and especially Lynn and Eddie. Leonard would send us these remote control RC cars for Christmas every year, which was really cool. So we had a great relationship with them, and I always thought the world of them. So to see them have success, I think is really cool. And more than just not necessarily because of the history that they have, because I'm not very tied into their history, but just from my time that I spent with them as a kid over the 2 or 3 years that Dad raced with them, that's why I want to see them do good, because I know some of the guys there. Like I said, not just Eddie and Lynn, but some of the same crew guys are even still there, and they're all just really good people. So I want to see them have success because of that, not necessarily because of their history. I don't know as much about it as I may, as other guys may, but just to see how good of people they are and how hard they work, and what they've been through the tough times when Dad was there and trying to get their cars to run better, to be aligned with Penske now and have an opportunity to run well and have a good driver in the car again. I think all that is good, and happy to see it, and I'm sure they'll have a lot more success as time goes.
Chase, Adam Niemeyer from Fox in Cincinnati. You as a younger driver, I saw a couple weeks ago Rodney Childers was watching races back on TV. Do you guys go back and like some other sports, watch races on TV or watch your own film to try to improve as you prepare for a race?
Yeah, we definitely do. I think as you look back to races, I mean, last fall I think is going to be a good one to watch for this weekend, just because there was a lot of rain in the forecast that weekend, and I think the grip strip is back down. Is the grip strip back? It is. So that's back down, which is definitely a key factor. And as it rains, I think that thing has changed, and the grip level changed in that strip they did on the bottom of the racetrack. So I think last fall is a great indicator of what you're going to see this weekend. And certainly, I think you can learn a lot from in-car cameras, and races, prior to when we get here, because a lot of times they're very similar, and I think you'll see that as time goes.
We'll come over here to the left to Tyler.
Chase, Tyler Painter, RacewayInsider.com. Just wondering, what can you take from your previous trips to Bristol and hopefully apply it to or translate it into a victory this weekend?
Yeah, so last year, I thought we learned a couple really, really good lessons that we kind of backed into and got lucky with. In the first weekend, we got towards the end of practice and we were throwing things at it, and we hit on a couple things that were really good here in the spring race. Kind of came back in the fall, and I didn't feel like we hit it as well then. Fired off good, and then I felt like as the race went on, we fell off, way too much compared to a lot of other guys. So I kind of look back more at the spring race last year. I feel like we had a better handle on the racetrack. I think I had a better handle on what I was doing. So I'm going to kind of look back at some of the things I was doing then to try to translate to this weekend, because I think, obviously it's the same weekend. We're racing maybe during the daytime, so all that stuff matters. But we're going to look back, I think, more at last spring than we will last fall.
All right, Chase, well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Good luck this